the Chios use scalar antennas, scalar technology. That's correct?
That's correct. In all the Chios, we use a scalar antenna and a scalar amplifier. In the room balancer, we've added 3 more, so there's a total of 4 scalar amplifiers in that. But I think most people don't probably even know what scalar means. I know a lot of people have heard the word, but let's talk a little bit about what scalar is and in an electromagnetic sense, and then also in an informational sense, so you can understand the difference between active and passive scalar devices. So if you see in this diagram, we have an image of what a typical scalar antenna might look like. Basically, we wrap the wires around themselves so that every time we put in a positive frequency or a positive energy wave, we also put in a negative energy wave. So they basically crisscross through the coil, and the net result is what we would call zero, or the 0 point, or a net zero electromagnetic pulse. There is no electricity or magnetism left. But this produces what is considered to be a scalar wave or a scalar informational field, a field of energy more akin to a gravitational wave. And the people that I know that have gotten anti-gravity type effects to happen, or a lessening of gravity or complete anti-gravity, they're all using scalar electromagnetics to accomplish that by compressing the electromagnetic spectrum down to the 0 point, and that doubles the gravitational wave and produces either more or less gravitational fields. So here's an image of our scalar coil that we use in the room balancer. It has 3 scalar antennas plus the original scalar antenna, so we've got 4 together with scalar amplifiers. So every time we're putting in a positive wave, we also put in a negative wave, and that crisscrosses back and forth until we create a scalar field. Now, scalar electromagnetics, that's the term that we use for a collapsed electromagnetic field. But in mathematics, that works a little bit differently. We have to understand what scalar means in a mathematical sense and an informational sense, and how that relates to gravity. So let's imagine, for example, that there is nothing in space. I mean, not even space. There just nothing exists at all. Before, this is pre-manifestation of anything. And in that space, there's one dot. And that dot basically is the sum total of everything that exists. So everything that there isn't anything else other than this one dot. But as soon as we give that dot some information, like for example the number 3, that informational field then creates what in quantum physics is known as a subtle attractor. It attracts the energy field around it for everything that's related to the number 3 in this case, that we gave it the informational field, the meaning of 3. What that does is it implies 2 dimensions. Even though it's a one-dimensional, we're still in one-dimensional space, but even though we're in one dimension, we're implying 2 dimensions through the implication of the number 4 and the number 2. So the number, just by giving 1 point in space, the number 3, that is the scalar. That's called scalar in mathematics. It gives it an informational point. It designates that point with information. Now, in order to actually have 2-dimensional space, we need to have at least 2 points. So in this case, we have the number 3, and then we have the number 4, and that is when we can have movement or direction, and that's called a vector. So a vector in time and space it's still 2-dimensional, but it gives a point A and a point B, and there's a movement between those 2. Now, energetically, in our 3 dimensions, whenever we have a vector, the beginning point of the energy, we have to have something to push that vector. So there's a push of energy at the point A, and by the time it gets to point B, there's a drop-off of energy, and that's a logarithmic drop-off. So in all vectors, there's a point A, there's a point B, the energy is stronger at point A than it is at point B. And the further away you get from point A to point B, the less energy arrives at point B. And that's called a vector. We'll try to keep this somewhat simple, just so you guys don't have to get too bogged down in the mathematics of it. But what we're concerned with here is the informational field of that point 3. So the 3 is the scalar. It's the information that's attached to that point. And now the difference between information and vector, we can put information on a vector. For example, if I'm talking to a group of people, the people in the front row will hear my voice. My sound voice is a vector. It's a sound wave, and it's louder up front than the people in the back of the room. So that voice drops off logarithmically. The energy of that voice, the amount of sound, drops off logarithmically from point A to point C, or point B to point C, if I'm point A, but the information stays the same. As long as it's audible and the signal loss is not too great, as long as the people in the back row can hear me well, and the people in the front row can hear me well, they're going to hear it louder in the front row, but the information gets to the back row exactly the same as it does in the front row. That's the difference between a vector and a scalar, or the informational field, and the field that the wave that it's riding on. And that's really important to note when we get into this a little deeper. What are informational fields and how are they propagated into the environment? So any questions so far?